James Vick versus Dan the Hangman Hooker takes place at UFC on ESPN 4 San Antonio. RDA versus Edwards this weekend. It's on the main card. This is the second most interesting fight I'm looking out for. It's the main event. Then it's this one. It's a sleeper, boys. James Vick versus Dan Hooker. I'm a huge fan of both guys. They've both fallen on hard times recently. You've got Dan Hooker coming off his first TKO finish, loss in his career against Edson Barboza. Those vicious body shots. You got James Vick in his chin. Just, Gaethje put him out cold. But, Gaethje just put Edson out cold. So, no hard feelings. But then you lose to Paul Felder and it's 2 in a row. And it starts to build up. And now you're fighting for your career. At 155 at least. I don't know why James Vick is still at 155. You'd think he would fucking learn that he is 6'3". He is nearly the same height as Israel Adesanya, and he's at lightweight. He would be a big welterweight, and I don't know why he's still at lightweight, but he wants to keep cutting 30 or more pounds to take on easier opponents to use his size advantage. However, he is a dangerous, dangerous opponent for Dan Hooker. I think Dan Hooker's the better fighter out of the two of them. I think James Vick is a dangerous matchup for Dan Hooker, though, in terms of styles. Because when you think about Dan Hooker, I mentioned this on the full prediction video. When you think about Dan Hooker, what do you think of as his tools? What's his tools? What does he use to win fights? He uses his range. Well, that's taken away by James Vick. What else does he use? He uses a knee to the face. That's his best move out of anything he does. It's his guillotine off of a takedown, and it's his knee to the face from standing up. Okay? That's also taken away because unless he's jumping with it, he ain't going to fucking catch James Vick on his 6'3" long head. You know what I'm saying? Dan Hooker, you talk about knees to the face. Jim Miller put him out with a knee to the face. Ross Pearson put him out with a knee to the face. Gilbert Burns hurt him and wobbled him with a knee to the face before he finished him with punches. Dan Hooker, his best move, in my opinion, has been taken from him here. And I don't know, it's a rough one for Dan Hooker. I still think Dan Hooker's going to get the job done. I don't think it's going to be a TKO. I think it's going to be a rough fight. I think he's going to fight through it. But also on the same side, James Vick, this is the tallest, rangiest fighter that he's ever fought as well. Dan Hooker's 6 feet tall at lightweight. He's a long, rangy guy himself. James Vick's not going to be used to fighting like the 5'11", the 5'10" Justin Gaethje and the 5'10" Paul Felder. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit more range, a little bit more distance control. Maybe is going to be able to help Dan Hooker in this fight. I do feel like if I'm Dan Hooker here, I'm setting up leg kicks. Okay, and there's one thing that Dan Hooker doesn't get. He doesn't get knocked out. Okay, he doesn't get hurt by punches. He gets hit, he gets woken up, and he fucking zones in. He gets Chuck Liddell eyes. You know what I'm saying? When he fucking zones in, his eyes narrow, they go wide, like Holloway's eyes. When Holloway gets hit by shots and he goes, and he sort of starts picking you apart like that. Dan Hooker gets that kind of reaction from a punch. And James Vick doesn't have knockout power. Okay, I know he's knocked out guys before. And I know he's done it quite impressively. But when you watch him throw his punches, he's not swinging them like Mike Perry. He's not swinging them like Woodley when they're fucking everything behind them in an overhand. They're James Vick's punches, which kind of is, oh, stay away. Oh, stay away from me. Get away. Don't come near. You know what I mean? That's all it is. And I don't see them shots being able to finish Dan Hooker. And I see Dan Hooker being able to sit comfortably on the outside and pick apart James Vick, which I know you might be saying, that's James Vick's game. That's where he doesn't want to be. Dan Hooker wants to be on the inside. I don't think he does. Because Dan Hooker, when you're thinking about, who's a 6'3"-ish rangy striker that I know, that I could train with? Oh yeah, my best friend and main training partner, Israel Adesanya, who I've been training against for over 6 years. I made that number up. I don't know how many years it's been. 6 sound like a good one. For over 6 years, he's been training with Israel Adesanya, and I don't know if you guys have seen sparring footage, but let's just say Dan Hooker does just fine. Just fine against Israel Adesanya and even clowns him on occasion. You know, there's a crowd behind him at the theatre. They're swinging hard at each other. Like, Israel's trying to knock him out at some points, you notice. They've got gloves on, obviously, so it's a different game. And Dan Hooker's fucking weaving out the way of head kicks and doing that into the crowd. Like, where was that meant to be? I don't know if you've seen the sparring footage. Dan Hooker does just fine. And eats shots just fine against Adesanya. And I think he's going to have a perfect training partner for this fight. 6'4", rangy striker, even taller than Vick, even a more accomplished striker and a better striker than Vick. 2 weight classes up. I feel like Dan Hooker's going to be the more prepared guy in there. And I think he's going to be able to chop away at the legs of James Vick and then eventually come in with some big shots over the top. Watch for the body-to-head combo from James Vick. From Dan Hooker. Sorry. Dan Hooker's going to be more prepared, I meant to say. Watch for the body-to-head combo. He used it on Gilbert Burns. I feel like if he starts chopping away at the legs, he's going to start jabbing to the body. He's going to throw shots to the body and stuff like that. And I don't know what we're going to see out of Dan Hooker in this fight. I feel like he's just going to be picking apart James Vick. And James Vick is so awkward with his shots. I don't think he's going to be able to find something with enough power to put off Dan Hooker's assault, if I'm honest with you. Dan Hooker's going to be forcing the action. I don't see the snapping power from James Vick to be able to halt that forward pressure. I really don't. And also, if I'm Dan Hooker, he's got vicious elbows. And I'd like to see Dan Hooker get in on the cage, really rough James Vick up a bit. You saw it with Gaethje. James Vick's very good, but when you take that range away from him, he crumbles under pressure. And you saw it against Paul Felder. You saw it against Justin Gaethje. The best way to take a guy's range away from him is to put him up against the fence. Because now all of a sudden, they don't control the range anymore. You're as close as you want to be to them. As soon as their back hits that fence, they're thrown off. They're thrown off completely. And now you're in range and boom, and then you're out cold. And James Vick's gone. And with that chin at 6'3" at lightweight, I mean, people say Paul Felder's a big lightweight. I mean, if you watch the fucking Vick versus Felder fight, Felder's a big fucking welterweight at times. Like, when you see him versus Mike Perry, you're like, oh, he's a welterweight, right? And you see, it's just crazy to me why his team and coaches just let him do it to himself. What are you, like, James Vick, you'd be so much better at 170. So much better. You'd still have the reach advantage. You'd still have the range advantage. You'd probably be the tallest 170 pounder there is. I mean, you're talking Darren Till and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson are the tallest guys I know at 170. And how tall are they? Let's have a little look. I think Darren Till's 6 foot tall. 6 foot? Am I right? Darren Till, 6 foot tall. You'd still be 3 inches taller than Darren Till. Okay? Go up to fucking welterweight. And when you lose this one, if the UFC still fucking wants your ass, have a real fucking sit down with your coaches. Because they aren't doing you right. I'm pissed off at James Vick. James Vick's got potential. Okay? He's got potential. He's a good fighter. He's beat a lot of good guys. He's lost to some guys. I think he's fucking draining himself. And his coaches need a fucking pin down and pride fucking knee in the face. Pride style rules. Because his coach is like, no, stay at 155, it's fine. No, we'll just keep cutting 30 pounds. That's good for your brain. Yeah, we just lost 2 in a row. No problem, we just lost 2 in a row. Let's stay at this weight class. It's fucking ridiculous. If I was James Vick coaches, I would be saying, we're not training you unless you're at 170. Because that's not how it's going to work here. Dan Hooker by unanimous decision. I think James Vick gets a round. I think Dan Hooker gets 2. And I think he picks him apart from the outside and works elbows in the clinch. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. And if James Vick goes for a takedown, watch your neck. Watch your fucking neck. If James Vick goes for a takedown at any point with his leg hurting from Dan Hooker's leg kicks, Dan Hooker likes the calf kick. And if James Vick goes for some lousy takedown, watch your fucking neck. They don't call him the hangman for nothing. See you later. Thanks for watching. Dan Hooker unanimous decision. 2 rounds to 1. Click that. Goodbye. I'll be live doing a fight companion for the entire event, so definitely click that one there. Because, you know, you can tune in. Goodbye.